You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Well, cryptos. What can you say about cryptos that you haven't said about other investment bubbles? Cryptos always go up. This is a new era. And during new eras, the old rules don't apply. And then eventually you have hyperparabolic moves in any market. And all of a sudden you find out that it's just a market, different than the others before it, but it's just a market. Well, we've been bringing on experts about cryptos here for years. I don't include myself in that rarefied short list of people, but my next guest certainly is. He's proprietor of Rubic.com, which is a really cool trading platform that you're going to want to find out more about. But before we get into all that, Collin, first, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. And cryptos, just give us an idea of your interest, your background with cryptos. How'd you get involved in this space?
Thank you, Kerry. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. My crypto journey, funny enough, it actually really truly started back in 2010. I was one of those people who looked at Bitcoin when it was, around $1. I vividly remember having a chat with a friend, deciding whether or not I should buy 1,000 Bitcoin at $1.79. And I had everyone in my life tell me that, it was a waste of money, that it was just, digital monopoly money. There's no value in it. And my youthful naivete, I listened to them. So I did not buy that 1,000 Bitcoin. Fast forward about 6 years, 2016, started to pique my interest again with the industry and what was happening with these new blockchains that had been created. And I started to learn about smart contracts. And then it was just off to the races from there. So, I've been investing since 2016. And just very passionate about the technology itself. I've always been a pretty big tech nerd throughout my life. So when I truly grasped what it meant, what decentralized ledger technology could mean for mankind, I was hooked. So here I am today, working in the industry, and it's fantastic, and every day is very exciting and a new opportunity.
All right. So even though you're young and enthusiastic, you're still a realist about crypto, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think are the biggest danger signs about crypto? What are the highest risks that you perceive?
The highest risks I perceive right now is an injection of too much fiat capital into digitized assets without enough regulatory framework to protect investors, right? And that will create negative sentiment for the industry. I think you already have seen that over the course of the last year or so. There's been literally billions of dollars that have been hacked and stolen, very similar to just if somebody were to rob a bank or a stagecoach back in the day. It's really truly the wild west of finance right now, because we don't have these punitive legal measures put in place to really protect investors and to really help court businesses as they try to navigate this new burgeoning industry.
All right. Well, it's always nice because Bitcoin's a bit of a libertarian construct paradise, and everybody's always anti-regulatory till you get robbed. It's kind of like the difference between a liberal and a conservative. They say a liberal is a conservative who hasn't been mugged yet. So yeah. Regulation, it seems to me that it's gotten way, way ahead of, the authorities are way behind the curve here. Up until a year ago, they didn't even know what a crypto was. And now they're going to go out and regulate it, there's a danger there as well, isn't there?
There is. I've said before that we need people who are in charge of, proposing and writing this legislation that governments around the world will use as their framework, to be very involved, right? To be tech savvy themselves. They can't just stand back and arbitrarily, push their traditional financial views on this new market that doesn't really operate the same way. I think you'll see the conversation really start to pick up on the topic of central bank digital currencies. You're already hearing that in the media, CBDCs.
Mm-hmm.
I think once governments around the world are able to start issuing those and enabling their citizens to move fiat currency, traditional dollars, euros, yuans, into digital currencies, then you're going to see a rapid adoption from the general public into the space. And I see it as an inevitability. The old financial system is based on, needing somebody to provide trust, needing people to provide permission to pass information or sensitive data or financial information across the network. This new system that's been created doesn't require that. It's a trustless, permissionless system to cut out the middlemen, to cut out banks, and really enable people to move at the speed of business, right? Not be held up by arcane and arbitrary rules and things like that anymore.
Okay, so it's a new system. The old system's trying to regulate the new system. Government issued, sovereign issued currencies. I mean, that is their most powerful tool for control of the population and to basically move their policies forward. Can they possibly afford to allow independent cryptos to compete with sovereign currencies, CBDCs, as you call them, central bank cryptos, basically?
I think it remains to be seen whether that will be the case long term. In the present, there are businesses. Perfect example is Circle. They have their USDC, and they just created the Euro version of that as well. They are stable coins that are supposed to be backed to their respective fiat currencies. And so Circle has actually gone through and filed, all the appropriate paperwork and jumped all the hurdles and gone through all the hoops of becoming a bank themselves, essentially, so that they can issue these currencies to people. So whether or not governments will allow private entities like Circle to continue to operate in the future is anyone's best guess, especially if they're competing directly with central bank digital currencies. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think I'm in my mid 30s, and over the next 5 to 10 years, the people that are my age are going to find their ways into positions of power where they will then affect change, in this regulatory environment. And the ethos that my generation has for this is to kind of embrace the decentralization aspect of it, to empower individuals to retain more control over their data and their finances, with the least amount of impediment and least amount of intrusion possible.
Mm-hmm. All right. I appreciate what you're saying. I think this situation is so murky, developing, really hard to figure out exactly where it's heading. But it's with us now. It's probably going to be with us for quite a while. And the question is, how do you position yourself as an individual investor to actually cash in on this trend?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's tough to keep up with because everything is moving so fast, not just within this industry, but across industries around the world right now. There's a lot of hesitancy and pessimism about the global markets. You're seeing a number of geopolitical events around the world kind of pouring gas on that fire. And I would say the best thing you can do is arm yourself with knowledge. So educate yourself as much as you can surrounding the blockchain industry, what decentralized ledger tech entails, who's popular, who's doing what. By getting your finger on the pulse and really educating yourself, you're doing yourself a huge favor and giving yourself a leg up on everybody else. I want to say last count, only 3% of mankind owns any form of cryptocurrency. And the majority of those that do, they own just, very, like, they call them meme coins, like Dogecoin, for example. They're not legitimate investments. It's just 20, 30, 50, $100. So the actual amount of real volume investors in this space is very small. But like I said, I think that is going to change rapidly once governments deploy CBDCs, and you see a change from our current fiat monetary system to this digitized version of it.
All right. Well, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how it progresses. Like I say, it might be up there with EVs. You all know they're a great thing, a lot of fun to drive, and many advantages, few disadvantages over ICE engines. But are they ready to take over the world? That's the question. So as far as what Rubic does, what you do, can you explain that in a way that if you have no idea about cryptos, you never bought a Bitcoin or a Ethereum or Cardano, whatever, how does it work?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Fury Gold Mines is a Canada-focused exploration and development company committed to aggressively growing its scalable, high-grade gold assets with major drill campaigns planned across its 3.5 million-ounce portfolio. Fury is led by a management team of proven explorers and developers with a track record of success in advancing and financing project development. Fury Gold Mines is well-positioned to create value for investors with low-risk development growth and the potential for a new major discovery. Fury Gold Mines trades on the TSX and NYSE American under the ticker FURY. To learn more, go to furygoldmines.com. That's furygoldmines.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
I guess to answer your question, I have to take a step back and explain why there are different blockchain networks. Based on how they are programmed, based on how they execute transactions, both on a logical level and a mathematical level, a systems infrastructure level, how much electricity they need, et cetera. They all vary greatly. So you'll have some blockchains out there that are very fast, right? They're able to process a lot of transactions in a very limited period of time. You have other blockchains out there that are very cheap to operate in terms of the actual cost to use the network, in addition to the amount of electricity they are consuming. And then you'll have other blockchain networks that handle data storage better. There will be a number of different blockchains that are all kind of fighting for those niche areas for the applications that they will service. Now, having those different environments, ones that are more conducive for storing data, ones that are more conducive for processing quick transactions, those are going to attract apps or applications that are in need of those functions. So you have these now different environments where you have different applications built on them. If I have tokens or credits, right, for an application on one network and I want to use them on another, right now that process is really convoluted. It's really tricky. You have liquidity being sourced in decentralized exchanges or automated market makers on one network, and then on another network. And now you need to get that value between the two networks. In comes bridges into the picture. Now, what bridges do is they take an asset on one network, they lock it, so they're storing it in a vault, and then they're minting a version of that on another network. So they're acting as both a treasury and a bank vault, essentially. They put a huge target on their heads. And that's where a lot of the hacks have been actually over the last year and a half or so. Over $1 billion have been hacked by people exploiting that mechanism. Now, moving that value from one blockchain to another, right? That's going to be necessary for your average user to be able to operate applications in the Web3 space the way we do today, right? But removing the middlemen from the picture. So if I have a friend who has Venmo, right now, I take that Venmo. I can use it in Uber, but through that process, I need to send it to my bank, and then my bank will send it over to Uber to get the credit moved over, right? So there's just that whole entity in the process. They may be skimming fees off the top to do so.
Count on that. Banks
Yeah,
don't do anything for nothing.
exactly. So
It's like Robin Hood, right?
Yeah, this system, you're your own bank, right? So you don't need that entity providing that trust and that permission to execute moving value from one application to another. And again, those applications, they're stored in centralized server centers around the world, right, that are consuming a ton of electricity. What happens if that server center goes down due to a natural disaster? All of that data is lost, right? So these new networks, they're spread out across all computers. Everyone who's accessing the network has a copy of the network. And that's the future of the app environment, right? Your apps are going to be distributed on the network itself, not located on these server centers. So let's do a little thought experiment. 10 years from now, right? Using the same applications, Venmo and Uber. Venmo could be on a network like Telos, which is really cheap, really fast to process transactions. And then Uber is on just a very popular chain like Polygon or Avalanche, right? I need to get the tokens from one network to another. There are a lot of projects out there that are storing liquidity on their respective blockchain networks. And there are a lot of different projects out there that are operating bridges between those networks. Now, the process is very arcane right now. You have to do that whole process manually. What Rubic has done is we have identified all these different liquidity providers, all these different bridge projects that have made all of this stuff between all the different blockchain networks, and we have aggregated all of it into one easy to use user interface for people. So that same process that takes multiple steps, needing to go to multiple different places, using multiple different businesses, Rubic makes that easy by just one click. Now I can move that value from one application to another, from one blockchain to another, without having to worry about it. I just do. And that's what we need for mass adoption. People don't need to know exactly how it works. They just need it to work, and they need to be able to do it. And it doesn't get much easier than just one click.
Well, people are okay with not knowing how things really work, because in today's world, nobody knows how anything works except the most deep in the weeds engineers who actually are doing this stuff. But nobody else. You just know you click, or you go in your car, you turn the key, push the button, and it works, and you're thankful. So I guess the idea of not knowing how it works really is irrelevant in today's world to all but very few. So if you want to find out more about Rubik's doing, because that idea of being able to just seamlessly go between cryptos is a big deal. And I guess I should ask you fee-wise. Obviously, you're not in it to save the manatees. You want to make some money on this deal. What kind of fees do you get, and how do they compare?
Yeah, so if you're doing any on-chain swap, so if I'm not leaving a particular blockchain's ecosystem, I'm just migrating value from one token to another on the same network, we don't charge any fees whatsoever. Only if you are moving value across blockchain networks do we charge a fee. But regardless of how much money you are moving, how much value you are moving from one network to another, our fee is $1. So you can move $100,000 from one network to another. It'll cost you $1.
Yeah. And you got clients now. Are you making money at this?
Absolutely. So one of the really cool things that our development team has done is they have built a very easy to implement software development kit, or SDK.
Okay, right.
And so that has enabled projects to, in as little as 30 minutes, again, completely free. They are able to integrate our software development kit, and now their application has the full functionality of Rubic. So they are able to enable their users inside their applications to use whatever crypto they want to operate within their app environment.
All right. I like it. I get it. Probably many of you out there won't get it, so you'll need to correspond. Collin, just tell us where we find you, how we connect with you, ways to find out more about Rubic.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do, Kerry, I'd like to say there's been an analogy that I've been using, a metaphor lately, to help explain this to people who have no concept of crypto or how any of this works. Think of Google Maps, right? Or any map-based application. I want to go from point A to point B. There are a number of different roads, tollways, things like that can get you there. And there are different people who have made maps showing you how you could get from point A to point B. There are people that have made a map of California, people have made a map of Arizona, people who've made a very, very detailed map of the roads in between those two states, right? What Rubic has done is we've made a map of everything, right? We plot every road, every potential route. And just like Google Maps, we'll get you from point A to point B. But if there's any issues along the way, if there's malfeasance or something is attacked or hacked, we'll divert you down a different route. We'll make sure you still get from point A to point B. It just may be less optimal or less efficient. But what we do is we present that option to the user. We'll say, hey, do you want to get there the fastest? Do you want to get there saving the most gas? That option is completely up to you. And so that's from a very removed point. That's like how Rubic pretty much operates. That's what we're doing. So.
Got it.
You can find all information regarding Rubic at rubic.exchange. You can check us out on Twitter at CryptoRubic. We have all our documentation, one pager, white paper, all of that stuff located on our website. If any developers are out there happening to listen to this, or anybody interested in working with us at all, you can find all the documentation pertaining to our actual code base on our GitHub account, with instructions on how to get started, how to contact our team for support, to start integrating this software development kit to get your business or your application up and running in as little as 30 minutes. And again, 100% free, 100% white label. You don't need to give us any credit. Ideally, we want people to be using Rubic and they don't even know they're using Rubic. They're just using the applications they know and love. And it's fully customizable for businesses out there. They can customize the UI however they want. And we also do fee sharing with people who integrate our SDK. So we offer up to 50% fee sharing.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I like it. Path to monetization, practicality, transparency, and seamlessness. Sounds like a winner to me. So you want to go take a look at Rubic, rubic.exchange. Link is in the show notes on Financial Survival Network. You got a question for Collin or myself? Just shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. We'll get you a prompt answer. And you can query me on anything else. Throw up some comments on the YouTube channel. I'd like to know your thoughts about it. Does this sound like a good thing for you to help manage crypto holdings, especially if you're B2B business? Sounds great. And don't forget, when you're at the site, sign up for your free newsletter. Collin, good luck. Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kerry. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.